The Ministry of Magic was a place Harry had only ever associated with frantic energy, chaos, or fear. But deep beneath the gilded atrium and the bustling offices, 9 levels below the ground, lay a place defined by an entirely different quality, a profound, echoing, and absolute silence. The Department of Mysteries. A place where thoughts themselves seemed to tread carefully. Years after the great battle, Headmistress Minerva McGonagall had been granted a rare privilege, a formal audit of the artifacts within the department. The unspeakables, the secretive wizards who worked there, had concluded that a fresh, outside perspective might help in the categorization of certain objects whose magical properties were still, after centuries, not fully understood. Knowing she would need more than just academic knowledge, McGonagall had extended an invitation to one of her most trusted, albeit unconventional, consultants, Luna Lovegood. Luna's ability to perceive magical currents that others missed was now legendary. They moved through the circular, spinning room of doors, McGonagall's steps crisp and purposeful, Luna's soft and drifting, as if she were walking through shallow water. They passed the brain room, the time room, the planet room, their purposes now well documented and secured. Finally, they reached the door to the final chamber, the one that had once been known simply as the Death Chamber. The room was vast, cold, and constructed in tiers, like an ancient amphitheater or a courtroom. But all of its focus, all the energy in the room, was drawn to the single object standing on a raised dais in the center, a massive ancient stone archway. It stood alone, supporting nothing, a doorway to nowhere, and hanging within its weathered frame was a tattered black veil. The moment they entered, the silence of the department was broken for Luna. She stopped, her head tilted, as a sound no one else could hear filled her senses. It was the gentle, ceaseless murmur of voices, whispering from just beyond the veil. They were not frightening, not sad, not angry. They were simply there, like the sound of a distant crowd, or the rustling of 1,000 leaves in a gentle wind. "They're louder today," she said softly, her voice filled not with fear, but with a serene curiosity. McGonagall looked at her, then at the veil, her expression a mixture of professional caution and a deep personal sadness. She, like most, heard nothing but the faint hiss of still air. "The unspeakables have hundreds of theories," she said, her voice low and academic, a shield against the room's profound emotional weight. "A gateway between worlds, a monument to the irrevocability of death, a magical echo of every soul that has passed. They do not know. They only know that those who pass through it do not return." But Luna wasn't listening to the theories. She was listening to the whispers. She had heard them ever since she was a little girl, a quiet background noise to her life, a sound she had come to associate with comfort, with the memory of her mother. Today, however, something was different. One voice, impossibly faint but clear to her, seemed to be calling not to her, but for her. It was a call not of desperation, but of gentle invitation, an invitation to understand. Ignoring McGonagall's cautionary glance, Luna moved with her characteristic, dreamlike grace down the stone tiers, her silvery eyes fixed on the archway. The closer she got, the clearer the whispers became. They were a tapestry of sound woven from countless threads of conversation, laughter, and sighs, all happening at once, just on the other side of a thin fabric wall. It was not a cacophony. It was a symphony, and Luna felt an overwhelming sense of peace settle over her. The veil did not radiate dark magic. It radiated finality, a serene and absolute truth. She reached the dais and stood before the archway. The veil, though black as a starless night, seemed to shimmer. It was not made of any fabric she knew. It fluttered and billowed slightly, though there was no breeze in the chamber. As it moved, she saw glimpses within its folds, not of another room, but of a deep, endless velvet darkness, pinpricked with distant, cold stars. It was like looking through a tattered hole in the world and seeing the pure, unadorned cosmos beyond. "Be careful, Luna." McGonagall's voice was sharp, cutting through the room's stillness. She did not fear the object, but she deeply respected. Its power dot. Luna turned her head slightly, a soft, reassuring smile on her face. "It's not dangerous, Professor. It's just waiting." She turned back to the veil. She could feel the pull, the temptation that had lured Sirius Black to his death. It was a gentle, curious pull, a simple question posed to the soul. Aren't you curious to see what's next? For someone grieving, someone lost, it would be an irresistible siren song. But Luna was not lost. She was here, and her heart was filled, not with grief, but with an insatiable, peaceful curiosity. She reached out a hand, not to touch the veil, but to feel the air just before it. The air was cool, and it vibrated with the energy of the whispers. She closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. She began to sort through the threads of sound, listening. She heard a mother humming a lullaby to her child. She heard, too, old friends laughing over a shared memory. She heard a scholar murmuring a line of forgotten poetry. She heard the quiet satisfaction of a long-completed task. It was not a place of torment or sorrow. It was a place of continuation. The whispers were not ghosts trapped in limbo. They were echoes, memories, the gentle resonance of lives that had been fully lived, now existing in a different state of being. The veil was not a law between life and death. It was the curtain at the end of a grand performance behind which the actors had retired, their voices still echoing softly in the empty hall. Asterisk McGonagall watched, her arms crossed, a silent guardian. She saw only a young woman standing before a strange, magical artifact. But she could feel the change in the room's atmosphere. The oppressive, cold weight of the chamber seemed to be lifting, replaced by a feeling of profound tranquility that radiated outwards from where Luna stood. Luna knew she could not go through. She had no desire to. Her life was here, full of moon frogs and friends and strange, wonderful discoveries yet to be made. But she felt a deep, empathetic need to respond to the gentle invitation she had felt. She would not cross the threshold, but she could build a bridge. She sat down on the cold stone of the dais, crossing her legs, her back straight, as if in meditation. She did not use her wand. She did not cast a spell. She simply closed her eyes and began to project her own feelings. Towards the veil, she sent a wave of gratitude for the beautiful, strange life she had been given. She sent a feeling of love for her father, for her friends, for the weird and wonderful creatures she cared for. She sent a current of pure, unblemished acceptance. She did not ask the whispers for answers. She offered them her own peace. For a long moment, nothing happened. The whispers continued their ceaseless, gentle murmur. Then, a slow, wondrous change began. The veil, which had been shimmering with the cold, distant light of stars, began to glow with the soft, warm, golden light from within. The light was not directed at Luna, but seemed to bloom inside the fabric of the veil itself. And the whispers changed. They coalesced. The murmuring of the crowd focused into a single harmonious chord. And in Luna's mind, she saw not a memory, but a feeling rendered as an image. She saw a vast, sun-warmed field of grass under a brilliant blue sky. She saw 1,000 dandelion seeds being released into the wind, each one catching the light. As it drifted away, separate, beautiful, and part of a single breathtaking whole. It was an image of release, of peace, of joyful, natural transition. The vision faded, and the light in the veil softened, returning to its starry glimmer. The whispers returned to their gentle, individual murmur, but something had been shared. An understanding had been reached. Luna felt a single, final whisper in her mind, clear as a bell. It was not a word, but a feeling of profound, complete gratitude. And then it was quiet. The invitation was over. Luna opened her eyes. The room felt different. It was no longer a chamber of death, but a hall of memory. It was not a place of endings, but a monument to transitions. She stood up, her movements calm and serene. She walked back up the stone tiers to where McGonagall was waiting, her expression unreadable. "What did you do?" the headmistress asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just listened," Luna said simply. "And I think they listened back." McGonagall stared at the archway, her sharp mind recontextualizing everything she thought. She knew about it. She had always seen it as a danger, an unpredictable variable to be cordoned off and studied from a safe distance. But seeing Luna's peaceful interaction, feeling the profound calm that now filled the chamber, she began to see it differently. Perhaps the veil's purpose was not to be a gateway. Perhaps it was a lesson in acceptance, a constant, silent reminder that death was not a horror to be fought and defeated, as Voldemort had believed, but a natural, peaceful, and necessary continuation of a different kind of journey. It was a guardian, not of a path to another world, but of a fundamental truth. "The audit for this room is complete, I think," McGonagall said, a note of newfound wonder in her voice. She made a note on her parchment, but instead of complex magical terminology, she wrote a single, simple sentence. "Object serves as a passive, non-threatening monument to magical transition. No further action required." As they turned to leave the chamber, Luna glanced back one last time at the shimmering black curtain. The whispers were still there, a gentle, eternal murmur, but the single voice that had called to her was now silent. At peace, she smiled, knowing that some mysteries weren't meant to be solved with wands and intellect, but to be felt with an open heart. And that was a kind of magic all its own.